and this is Post and Perspectives. Basically, what the segment of the show is we get to review what you say on social media. We first of all want to say thank you so much for sticking with us, and we really appreciate you. And every comment you make, we bring it back to the table, and we kind of analyze it. So let's jump right to it. My name is Swift Adirinto, and of course, we are reviewing the topic that was discussed, and this is SES warns of fraud and tightens investment protection. And the first person we have here is George. George, good afternoon. Are you a judge in the Federal High Court, or you are just a judge on social media? You say kudos to the Nigerian SEC for the smart move. Indeed, it is a smart move. Thank you so much for the comment. And of course, the next comment coming in from one of our viewers, or one of our commenters, of course, has to be from DRKO, and you say, looking forward to seeing how Nigerians SEC implements these regulations. Trust me, we're all waiting with our popcorn and our drink. And of course, the last comment we took from this particular topic is from Jones, and Jones says, that's an awesome decision from the Nigerian SEC. I hope this is fast-tracked and to show us some good results. Talking about this, Mr. Prier, I'm on you. Seems like a lot of people who are commenting seem excited. They are just waiting for what the SEC is going to do. What's your take on this?
Yeah, well, their excitement is a good thing, because I think they are not just excited because they felt the SEC put out something that sounds good, but because foreign direct investment, foreign portfolio investors who want to catch in on this, and for there to be sanity in the foreign market, in the capital market, the SEC needs to play that role. Because if it's not playing that role, investors will lose confidence.
Yes.
And if the investors' confidence is not secured, then it's not good for business.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. You used to bring your point. You know, when you are in school and the lecturer says, give me 5 reasons why, that's how you used to. Of course,
I don't like it when questions like that comes in the exam. Give me 5 reasons. No, let me write some stories. I would like it that way.
Okay, talking about stories, the next story talks about businesses may source alternative funding as banks face liquidity. This is a big one. And of course, we have the governor. Thank you for always being here. He says same banks that pride themselves as the profit kings year in, year out, offering high double digital interest for business loans. What excuse is there for the liquidity issues? And he hashtags front burners. That means he's saying, come, the front burner team, read my comments and say something about it. Let me drop the next one before I run off to Blessing, because Blessing has to, really be on this one, because the way he hashtagged you is like, Blessing, I'm talking directly to you. What's your take on that from the governor?
Oh, okay, yeah. So he talked about the banks actually declaring huge profits. Yes, declaring profits. Declaring profits is one thing. Now, we're talking about the banks facing liquidity challenges. So there are a number of issues that could be responsible for that. You know that there are various instruments with which the banks actually raise money and meet short-term obligations. So the liquidity ratio actually measures the rate at which the bank can convert assets to cash within a quick time to meet whether it's debts they want to service or whatever liabilities that they want to take care of. So it may mean that maybe for certain banks, their liabilities are quite growing. And it could also mean, too, that the level of non-performing loans or bad loans are also growing for banks, which is restricting the level of money or cash that they have to give out to those who seek loan. So I think it's a duty for the CBN as part of their supervisory role, part of their oversight role, to actually put more attention or pay more attention to the deposit money banks, what's going on. Because the outcomes of the last Monetary Policy Committee meeting, which is where the CBN discusses and say, okay, these are the decisions we make regarding how we appropriate the financial sector it's quite okay. If you look at the liquidity ratio, they put it at 30%.
Yes.
The cash reserve ratio, they put at 50%. It's only the interest rate that I have an issue with, which is very, very high. But the CBN was doing that in the bid to control the inflation, though the inflation has refused to reduce. So I think that the CBN should begin to ask questions and look at certain banks. It's not a general thing for all banks. Okay. There are banks that definitely would not be having liquidity challenges. There are banks that are having liquidity challenges, because even the CBN had raised a flag regarding insider borrowing of some banks. So it's time to put to scrutinize more. Is this happening more than we know? Is there cause for worry? That's what I think the CBN should do.
Banks MD shaking their shoes if they want to make you Minister of Finance. So they should put more eyeballs.
Yes, because there's money at the end of the day.
Yes.
So if banks continue to face liquidity challenges, it's risky. Yes. It's very risky for the banks.
Risky. That's true. All right, talking about something that isn't so risky, but what used to be very risky once in a while, we're talking about the International Day of Remembrance for Victims of Slavery. I need to say this. My great-great-great-great-great-grandfathers were once slaves and carried, you know, to Canada and...
you seem like a proud descendant of a slave, you know?
All right, so the first person is Awele, and Awele said, has slavery ended? With a question mark. I didn't get the memo. I say, you say with high indebtedness and the French democracy veiling indirect colonialism, the black race is still in chains. Well, I don't know about you, my sister, but me, I'm not in chains. The next person, of course, has to be Johnson. And Johnson says, good that the Transatlantic Slave Trade has ended at last. It says changed its form. It's now more important that we end internal slavery while we celebrate the end of the first forms of the TRS, that's the Transatlantic Slave Trade. You say, if we don't, our youth will continue to buy their own chains and pay their passage for the slavery. So there's a joke people crack that if slave trade is on today, some people will buy their chains and be like...
Not even if, it's still on. Just modern slavery, modern slave trade. But the twist to it now is that you don't have the slave masters having to scout for the slaves and chain them. Yes. It is now the slaves willingly offering themselves, and they show up at the doorstep of the slave masters and say, here we are. You find that oftentimes African migrants are rescued from the sea, Mediterranean Sea, trying to cross,
to Libya.
Trying to get into European countries without documentation. And then when they get there, some declare asylum, some come up with different stories. So it's people now, or Africans now, offering themselves willingly and say, here we are, we're ready to do any kind of menial job. And it goes to, it speaks about the failure of African leadership. Years after slave trade, we can still see that people are dissatisfied with having their own leaders. You know, years after colonization ended, people still want to go to other shows, believing there are greener pastures there. So I think we can do better with all we talked about today, celebrating those who died as a result of slave trade and those who suffered. We do hope that we're able to put some dignity on the African.
All right, talking about putting some dignity on the Africans. Guess what? I'm about to leave you. Well, I'm not handing you over to the front burner team. Nah, I'm bringing in Senator Chooks. I call him the one and only honorable, who has everything you need to know about sports and is coming in with a mind-blowing show. Don't go anywhere. My name is still Swift Aderito. See you at the top.